Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Liberty Show. This is our third edition, and today we will be discussing important information from Zambia, the situation of things in Zambia, and how do we think it affects the individual liberty of the country. My guest today is Mr. Moses Lukundo Sinkala. She is I hope I got the name right. He is a libertarian. He's a libertarian and a local coordinator for African Students for Liberty, and also is the chairperson of Zambia Students for Liberty. Welcome, Mr. Moses.
Thank you, Liam, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so what is the current situation of things with this pandemic ravaging every corner of the earth in Zambia? What is the current situation with COVID-19 in Zambia?
Okay, in the past, let me say 10 days or so, the cases have skyrocketed. We were actually at a minimum number. We were between a 50, 60. But if you ask me, in the last 10 days, I think we've gone up to somewhere 700. That we've recorded, and we have about 138 recoveries. So you can see the remaining ones are active cases. So yeah, that is the current situation as regards with COVID-19. And I think we are heading to a period where the number of cases will skyrocket because it's starting to get cold here, as you may see the season, and this virus actually thrives when it's cold. So our fear is that by mid-June, we may actually get to 3 digits figures, maybe over 1,000 or so. Yeah, that is the situation here.
So you're saying that in the last 10 days, you have just about 50 cases, but today you have over 700?
Yes, over 760.
Wow. So that's about 700 cases in just 10 days.
Yes.
What has been the response of the government to these cases so far?
Okay, I would say it's been slow because people actually cried for the closure of borders, but the borders were kept open. Actually, all our borders have been running. So the response hasn't been as expected because most of the cases actually that we've reported are coming from one single border. About 402 cases have come from Nakonde border. That is border between Zambia and Tanzania and Tunduma. So yeah, they had closed that border area, probably we wouldn't have been at that number of cases, but because they kept the borders open, and most cases are reported from borders now. We have a Nakonde border, we have Chirundu, that's the border between Zambia and Tanzania. We also have another border in Chilawombwe that is between Zambia and Congo DR. So this is where the cases are coming now. So you see, if the borders had been closed, we probably would have been better by now.
That's serious. Okay, with this, well, you say you are currently on 700 plus. How has this affected your economy? Because you said the border is still running. So is the economy of Zambia affected in any way?
Terribly. Because even if the borders were not closed, the coming in of essential goods and stuff like that, but there are a few things also that were, let me say, a few businesses that were closed down. When we look at restaurants, we look at nightclubs and bars, we look at small businesses like barbershops and so on. These businesses were closed, they were shuttered. So when you look at the number of people actually work for these small businesses in my country, and once these businesses are closed, you find that the economy is badly affected because the small medium enterprises actually are the ones that generate more income. So these were shattered. So you can imagine we are now getting $1 at over 100, at over 18.5 kwacha. So that can tell you something because a single dollar goes at over 100, I mean, over 18.5 quarter. So really our economy is badly affected, and we hope that it will recover. We don't know though.
Oh, okay. So about that, a few days ago, it broke the news that the current government of Zambia closed down one of the major TV stations in Zambia. What's your take as a libertarian on the closure of that station?
Yeah, you see, when you begin to close down on media institutions, then already there's an infringement on different kinds of liberties in the nation. For example, Prime TV has been one of the leading media institutions in the country, and when it was closed down, everybody was sad, including the major opposition political parties, because people have, to have alternative or have to hear alternative views on the current running of the government and so on and so forth. So now we discover that liberties to implement. Okay. Could you please mute the other microphone? Okay, so you find that liberties to information or alternative sources of information has been taken away from the people. There's also entertainment, which has been taken away from the people. There's also what we call economic liberty, because Prime TV is actually one of the employers of over 100 people. So once this TV station is closed down, you have closed down unemployment. So a lot of people actually are jobless now. And when we look at our situation and the economy and the current prevailing situation, you do not need to actually add more salt to injury by closing the sources of income for a few individuals. But in this case, there are people that are jobless due to the closure of Prime, and that means the economic liberties have been taken away from some people. Yeah.
All right. Oh, okay. Like you said, its economic situation is having an issue now. The closure of the TV station has taken away economic liberty from people as well. What other threat do you think we have in Zambia to the normal livelihood and the liberty of the Zambians?
Okay, can you just come again? I didn't get the question clearly.
Okay, the question is, the closure of the TV station, is it the only threat to the liberty of the people of the Republic of Zambia? Or do you think there is other threats to maybe individual liberty, that is on economic liberty, and how it affects the economic situation of those people that have been laid off or that have lost their job due to the closure of the station? But what I'm not asking is there any other threats to liberty that we have in Zambia that you want our viewers and the world to know about?
Okay, I can say freedom of expression, because many of the times where we've had cases where a few individuals have been picked up by police for having said something that is against either the government or maybe something that is perceived as defamatory against the head of state. So people fear to speak out most of the times because they feel that they may be picked up by police. Sometimes you just post a certain message on Facebook, for example, and then it doesn't sit well with the government, or maybe let me not say the government, probably the ruling party. So it doesn't sit well with them. Maybe it's directed to the president. So you are picked up because of that. So freedom of expression really is also one thing that we feel is being infringed on in Zambia. And even the closure of the TV station itself, well, it's also related to freedom of expression, because that's the TV station that also offers alternative views from the government. A lot of individuals and political parties would go on the same station and try to speak out of the thing. So you find that once it's closed down, also freedom of expression for some people has also been taken away. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Thank you for that, Mr. Moses. Okay, let's talk about the tax rate of Zambia. Still on the economic situation of Zambia. I was reading. I don't know how true this because you have so many information on internet. So let me confirm from you. I read that the current tax rate of Zambia is around 30 to 35%. Is that correct?
It's actually 37.
37.5.
And that is personal income tax we are talking about. So, well, it's actually terrible because you find that this is what we are talking about. This is personal income tax, because we have three types of tax. I'm sure you understand. We have income tax, we have trade tax, and then we have the consumption tax. Okay, but then from these three, the one that actually affects most of the people is what we call the personal income tax, and that one is at 37.5%.
Wow.
And when you look at this and the economic situation that is prevailing right now, you find that even people that are in active employment actually are getting to almost nothing because the prices of commodities, and now that has to do with the consumption tax, that one is also increasing. Then there's this personal income tax, which is too high, but then the income of individuals is still at the same level. So when you compare the two, you find that people actually are almost robbed of all what they earn in terms of tax. So the tax rate is just too high. And I don't see the sense in taxing your own citizens. You tax them so much, and you leave the mineral royalty tax, which actually is paid by the so-called investors who are foreigners, at below 35. I think that's not fair. You see that? But this is why we say taxation in Zambia is actually something that we really need to look at. I don't know how we're really going to solve that problem, but it's too high for now.
Wow. So, like you said, it has really affected the livelihood of the people living in Zambia. Even people that are categorized as having money are struggling to get things done.
Oh yes. Actually, I don't think it's good for everybody because even when you look at civil servants themselves, this tax ratio is just too high for them because when you look at their salaries, I'll give you an example. If, for example, you get, let's say, $400, and from that $400, about $150 is taken away from you, so you remain with about $250. And in that $250, you also have to buy commodities. Now, these commodities are also taxed very high. So you find that you only get a few things, and your salary is done. So it's really terrible. Everybody is struggling. Businesses are struggling because they have to cover up for the consumption tax. They have to cover up for the trade tax, which is also high. So most of the businesses actually are closing down. Even before COVID-19 came in, a few businesses in big shopping malls had started closing down because of, they had to pay these rents, which are very high. Yes, these rents are very high. So they couldn't manage or they couldn't afford to pay the rent and also make profit. As a result, some of these businesses, they're just closing down, So really, the situation is bad.
Wow. That's serious. All right. Thank you very much for lending your voice on the show, Mr. Moses Lukundo Sinkala. I got it right.
You say it very well. Yes.
Okay. maybe I have some Zambian blood in me. You don't know. You never can tell.
It's very possible. You speak it very well. Most people actually don't use the Lukundo name. because it's difficult for them to actually pronounce or say it. Yeah, but you're saying it very well.
Maybe I'm a natural. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for lending your voice on the show. We really appreciate it. And we want to believe that what you've said will be an eye opener to some people who doesn't know most things about what's going on in Zambia. You've opened our eyes to this, and thank you very much for that. Viewers and people that are in attendance, this is what we do on the Liberty Show with Leon. We get to interview people from every location in Africa to know what is actually happening in Africa and to know how liberty is being tampered on or being infringed on every part of the continent.
Okay.
The
Thank
best
you so
way.
much, Mr. Leon.
All right. The best way to do anything in this world now is through media. So therefore, we want to use this show as a medium of sensitizing more people into the advancement of liberty and how we can live it in our day-to-day activity. If you want to learn more about this show, or you want to be like Mr. Moses Sinkala, to lend your voice on this show, please send us an email on info@faceoflibertyafrica.org. Let me take that again. info@faceoflibertyafrica.org. And we want you to watch our past episode on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/The Liberty Show with Leon. And if you want more information about the show fully, you can log on to faceoflibertyafrica.org/The Liberty Show. We'll try as much as possible to bring to you all informations from Africa and how it affects our liberty. Until next week, that we're going to bring another edition of The Liberty Show. My name is Leon Owede, and I'm saying bye for now. And remember, COVID-19 is real. Stay safe. And always follow the instruction of the Health Ministry in your country and in your location. This too shall pass. See you next week. Bye for now. Thank you very much, Mr. Sinkala.